paralyzed.
So hello everyone, Kevin here from Trigger Vibes. I hope you're keeping well wherever you are in the UK or the world. Very blustery day today, and it's also raining as well. So it's into the studio, which is quite a nice place to be. Right, I put a poll out yesterday regarding expensive PCP rifles versus a budget PCP rifle, and which one should you buy if you are getting into the sport for the first time. I'm going to keep this as simple as possible, and one of the things I want you to remember is relativity. So relativity, an example of that is £1 million to myself is a lot of money, a hell of a lot of money. £1 million to the likes of Mr. Beast is nothing. So can you understand the terms of relativity? So perhaps how much money dictates how relative the rifle might be to you. So to keep it simple, for the example is if we put a limit, a cap on a budget rifle of say £400 is a budget rifle, relatively, and an expensive rifle would be, I don't know, let's say £2,000. I know you can get rifles more expensive than that, but for the sake of this video, £2,000 we will classify as an expensive rifle. So today we're answering one of those biggest questions in air gunning, and do you really need to spend that £2,000 or more on a PCP air rifle, or can a budget PCP air rifle of £500 do the same job? So I've got two rifles with me here to test that theory out, and to, in the simplest terms, talk about it. I'm not reviewing the rifles, I'm talking about the relativity of the differences between the rifles and the cost. So out of the two rifles, I've got one that costs a few £100s and another that costs several times that. We're going to test and look at and discuss things like accuracy, build quality, consistency, and how that can affect hunting or plinking or whatever you choose to do. Is expensive really better, or are you just paying for the name? Now I think it is really poignant at the moment, because we're coming into spring, coming into summer soon, and people will be starting to buy air rifles to go and enjoy in their back gardens in terms of plinking. So it's a really good point to start at. Right, let's keep this video as short as we can, because it could take a day to talk about this stuff, or it could take a shorter time scale as possible. Expensive, £2,000. Budget, £500. So we've talked about the price difference. So here is my cheap rifle, and just for your information, it is a Gammo Fox version 4. It is in a 177, and it is my son's very much underused air rifle. Comparing that as the budget rifle to an expensive rifle, which is the Air Max Catran Pro, which is my rifle, is in .22 caliber, which is an expensive rifle, and this cost £1,500. Actually 1,600 with the moderator. So that's the expensive rifle. So first impressions, we'll start with the budget air rifle. First impressions of this is, if you have this in your hands now, you would say it is very plasticky. It's a hard, scratchy plastic. The cocking mechanism is a pullback mechanism into the action. The silencer on the end is quite long. Oh, it actually does screw off, so you could put another silencer on there. It's got a PCP, or the air reservoir tube, built into the rifle itself. It's a relatively light gun. It looks like it could be quite robust out in the field. If you dropped it, I don't think you'd mind. The actual price of this rifle is about £300. In terms of the magazine which goes in there, it's made of plastic. And also in terms of filling up the reservoir, there is a probe which goes into there and it fills it up. It is an unregulated gun. Now, for those that don't know this, an unregulated gun means that a regulated gun ensures that the same amount of air is firing your pellet at the same speed and accuracy every single time. Okay, so the same amount of air is being pushed into that plenum, into that chamber, and then is released when you pull that trigger and the pellet hits the target. With this, it is unregulated. There's no valve system in there, so you could be getting a drop off in the performance. The performance is not the same of this rifle as the expensive one. So, for example, you fill it up, you get in a lot of good shots, high speed, hitting the target. As you take more and more shots, then that performance starts to dwindle away. There's less air getting through, and eventually the pellet won't even fire out at the end of the rifle. You've run out. So there's a drop off of performance. So in its simplest form, that is a budget rifle. Also notice the safety is inside the trigger guard, which personally I don't like. I'm not sure about other people, but I can be rest assured that a lot of people wouldn't like that. And also the trigger, I can assure you, has a very spongy feel to it when you pull it. So normally you'll have a discernible break between phase 1 of the trigger pull and phase 2. So when that pellet flies out is when phase 2 hits in. This one hasn't got that. It's very spongy. But apart from that, it's a good rifle, and it's fine for garden plinking and some pest control. You can fit accessories to it, such as scopes, etc. So yeah, it's fine. For what it costs, it is absolutely fine. Comparing that to the expensive rifle, which is the Catran, we just call it the expensive rifle. So you can look at the machining quality. This is made with high grade materials in terms of the alloys, metals, the plastics, the stock. It is all very well finished, put together. and of high quality. You compare it to a car, it's like a BMW, so no squeaks, nothing goes wrong with it very often. It has what we call a Cerakote coating, so 2 different tones colour, which protects the rail here, and it protects this part of the arm here. Also, it folds in terms of the back section there, so I can put that into a backpack. It's got different features, like it's got an adjustable butt there, so I can raise it and lower it to make it personal to myself, and it's got an adjustable cheek piece as well. The grip is what we call AR-15 style grip. It is very spongy, it's nice to hold in the hand, it's not hard plastic, it's very grippy, it's all-weather material. The trigger is what we call match grade, so it is adjustable to any angle whatsoever, and we've got the same type of air cylinder as in the less expensive, the budget rifle here. That's 165 cc mechanism in there. The barrel is a CZ barrel, which means it is high grade, high quality, will give you consistent performance. This one's got a moderator on which will suppress the sound considerably less, make it a less noisy rifle to shoot, to annoy neighbours. It's also got something here called Picatinny rail, which is at an angle of 20 MOA. So you can fit things like scopes, torches, red dots, lasers, whatever you want to fit there. And it's got a different type of cocking system here, which is a very short action pullback. There is nothing in this rifle, but I'm not going to fire it anyway. You pull it back, push it forward, and you take it off the safety, which is here. So remember, in the other gun, or rifle, the safety was inside the trigger housing. I don't like that. I like it to be separate. So that rifle there is made safe. We'll put it on fire outside of the rifle, which is another good feature to have. And then you shoot your pellet. The magazine itself is made of, it's CNC made and shoots 15 pellets. It's of high grade quality. They cost about £65 to buy separately. The one from Gamma will probably cost you about £10 to £12 to buy. The other feature, I mean, there's so many features on this rifle. This, you can see where the money's spent. There's also something called an Arca rail here, which again allows you to fit different types of mods, so such as a sling for me here, and I can also put things like bipods on here on the other Picatinny mount there. So yeah, it's just got a lot more features. So those are the two, I hope from that you can see the two discernible differences. Bear in mind that scope there is separate, is not included in that £1,500 price. Both compact, both tactical designs, the rifles. But you can see one is budget and one is expensive. And I think just even from that you can probably appreciate how much more thought or features you can see on one rifle compared to the other. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying that is what you get for the kind of price difference. So one of those rifles then cost, what, 4 times the amount of the other. So, you know, what are you exactly getting for your money? And we did go through some features there, but you've got things like a build quality comparison. So here you've got on the budget end rifle, and I say budget as in a generic budget. You'll have stamped parts. There's no regulator in this rifle. You've got a very basic trigger unit, and you've got lower machining tolerances as well. Stock is cheap plastic. Go back to the other rifle again, and you've got the opposite. You've got parts which are individually made, individually machined. It's got a humour regulator in, which is a world-renowned regulator to high tolerances, and ensures a accurate amount of air comes out of that plenum to allow that shot to hit where it's meant to hit every single time. Very, very high machining tolerances as well. So that's the expensive PCP. So the higher end of PCP often uses these tighter manufacturing tolerances, and what they can affect then is your consistency shot to shot. So that means that if you're shooting targets in the garden, it will affect whether you're hitting the bullseye or you're hitting a number 9 or a number 8, or if you're out pest controlling, whether you actually hit that pest, vermin, or you miss that pest because of the barrel and all those things, how they're put together, etc, etc. Hello guys, you might notice a slight difference with the lighting, but it's got a lot darker since we first started shooting. Fed the kids, and anyway, back on with the show. So we got to features comparison. Remember the budget rifle, not this one, and again we are using this as just an example rifle, not this one in particular, but you get things like budget rifle, fixed stock. There's nowhere to adjust this stock to make it fit your body as you'd like it to. You've got that simple bolt action which I showed you earlier, and you've got very limited adjustability. In fact, no adjustability on this particular rifle at all. That doesn't go for all budget £500 rifles, but majority of them. If you then compare that to the expensive PCP, so you know, 1,500 to 2,000, you're looking at things like the adjustable cheek piece, which we talked about earlier, which helps you with alignment with the scope, adjustable butt pad, which makes you shoulder the rifle correctly. Some of the rifles also have, especially Brococks, have things like power adjusters, so you can take it from 12 foot-pounds down to 7 foot-pounds, and that can help you if, for example, you're shooting in a barn and you don't want to damage any of the material that the barn is made of. So yeah, power adjusters. You get the regulated air system like the Hume one I talked about earlier. Multi-shot magazines, you quite often at least get one, but sometimes get two. So I think the expensive PCP rifles are more often designed for precision shooters and hunters who want the rifle to fit them perfectly, hence all of the cheek riser, the butt, stock, and all of the other parts on the Catran that you saw earlier, trigger adjustment, etc. It can be made to measure. You can set that up to exactly how you want it, whereas the budget PCP in general is very much you get what you get, and that is it. There are exceptions like anything in life, but that is a generalization. Accuracy testing. So if you want to just talk about budget rifle, budget PCPs, accuracy testing is interesting because, 25 yards or 25 meters up to probably 30, 35 meters. Now, this is probably quite controversial and people may comment on this, but generally, in my opinion, you are kind of reaching your limit of what a sub 500, sub 400 pound rifle can achieve if it doesn't have things like a CZ barrel and doesn't follow the manufacturing tolerances of the more expensive PCP. Generally, it's a generalisation, but there's also some truth in that. Compare that to the more expensive PCPs, where the tolerances, machining tolerances, the fitting and the build tolerances, the CZ barrels, and all the other components that are milled, put together to make that an exceptional piece of technology, often give you the opportunity to shoot tighter groups at those longer distances. So in the field, you could probably get 50, 60 yard, 5 pence groups, 5 shots. There's obviously another level to go to when you look at benchmark testing, so people will go even further. But there are, rifles for all sorts of different niches, so it depends what you want to do. And we'll come on to that later as a point. I think just to finish that part off, sometimes the biggest surprise is that a budget PCP can shoot incredibly well and better than you imagine. I know there are a number of, there's a lot of Turkish made rifles coming onto the market now that are, even I'm tempted to look at one of those. I saw one the other day at £400, but no, this year, no more rifles. It's going to be just my 2 rifles that I bought. But there are a lot of cheaper rifles which their tolerances are becoming better, and don't get put off by me generalising, saying that you won't get as a tighter group as possible. It's a generalisation. Shot consistency, I think we've talked about regulator versus non-regulated. So generally, budget PCPs haven't got a regulator or a non-regulated, and the expensive PCPs I've got things like humour regulators in, which ensures that you get the same amount of air in that plenum going through with each shot. So you get consistency, and you'll hear that theme throughout. Is consistency is what you're after and what you're achieving, and that's what you're paying that extra money for with an expensive PCP. Things like velocity, so the speed of the pellet coming out of the barrel, the expensive PCP, and I will use the Katana as the example. I had 26 shots the other day with it, with a chronograph, and there was a standard deviation of 3 feet per second. So they are shooting at the same speed 26 times, and that's what you're paying for. With the Gammo, I've done that, and it can go anywhere to probably 30 to 40 FPS. Again, that's down to the regulator and all of those cheaper components that make that rifle more affordable to people. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad rifle. I'm just saying that it makes it a more affordable rifle than one that's costing £1,500. So consistency shot to shot is what separates a good PCP from a phenomenal PCP, and that's often also comes with a price tag, which is the whole point of what we're talking about. Real world use as well for budget PCPs. You really do need consistency. People do shoot with budget PCPs, nothing wrong with that. If you've got great accuracy, you've got great skills, then go ahead. Make sure, the number one kind of rule with this is that you want to make a clean kill of any legal vermin. In the UK, we're obviously a sub 12 foot-pound channel here in the UK, so it's got to be one shot if possible, and kill that vermin as quickly as possible. Sometimes it takes a double tap, but there you go. With a more expensive PCP, you can go further out to shoot quarry, but again, you put more risk into the factor of wind and what that does to the pellet, and but you can, as a generalization, get a better, more consistent shot to the kill zone, which is really important. Also, weight. I don't think really weight comes into it that much. You get light PCPs in a budget range, but you can also get them in an expensive, and vice versa. You can get heavy budget PCPs and heavy expensive PCPs. So I would say choose the rifle for what you intend to do with it. If you intend to walk around a farm for a day, then I would tend to choose a lighter rifle as opposed to something that weighs, many kilos. One point to raise here is that it's a good point to raise is if you did take this around, although it doesn't weigh the most out of all the rifles, there is nowhere to put a sling, which is, you could put a sling on, but there are no points where you could actually easily fix it. If you compare that to the expensive PCP, which I showed you earlier, there are fixing points, mounting points there, and then you've got your M-lock, which you can put your swivel, attach it to there, so it's a lot easier. Life is easier with an expensive PCP because they give you all the gadgets and gadgets to make your life easier. But again, that's what you're paying for. Maneuverability. So I would tend to go for a lighter rifle and a smaller rifle if you are going hunting. And that's both expensive and with budget PCPs. Noise levels. Generally, now this is a generalization, a more sound efficient rifle with an expensive PCP. However, it can come down to the moderator. So you could, I have seen videos recently where a moderator, in fact I've got one arriving tomorrow, a moderator has been hand built and has been put onto a budget rifle and it's made it whisper quiet. So don't always believe that having an expensive PCP will make it into a quieter rifle. The moderator has a big say in where that goes in terms of noise levels. And it's especially important if you're shooting in your back garden and you don't want to raise awareness or annoy your neighbours. You need to be discreet, really. So in real pest control situations, reliability then often matters more than price. So that's food for thought, and it's more about the skills, but making sure that your rifle can consistently hit the mark when it needs to. There's something about the honest truth here, and here's the interesting part: is the expensive PCP is definitely nicer design to look at in most cases. So if you take say a Daystate, Black Wolf, or a Steyr, for example, I mean they're £3,500. They are beautiful pieces of work and been designed for many hours by skilled technicians. But does it actually make you a better shot or make the rifle a better shot? I don't know. It's aesthetics, isn't it? Aesthetics. It may look better to you. It may look better to you down the range with your friends and compadres that you go shooting with, but does it make a better rifle because it looks nicer? Again, that's food for thought. You can get some very nice looking budget PCPs, so do not let price dictate what the rifle looks like. Probably something for you to think about and discuss. You also get diminishing returns, and what I mean by that is that, again, a generalization is that you will, if you spend, I would say, more than £1,500 on an air rifle, that's probably close to as accurate a rifle that you're going to get in terms of the build quality, a Caesar barrel, etc., etc. If you bought a Steyr at £3,000, would it be more accurate than £1,500. It's debatable. It's a lot of money for perhaps a millimetre, 2 millimetres difference. But that might make a difference to you if you're bench shooting, so it might be important. If you are looking at a rifle which is £500 and you are going to be comparing that to a rifle which is probably, you probably wouldn't get a PCP for less than, well, I've seen one for 400. So say you looked at a PCP for £400 and compared that to a rifle PCP which was £800, probably the £800 one would give you more consistency. And again, that's an assumption that you would get better quality components and better build quality as well. I think what you've also got to remember is with these rifles is that buying the rifle is not just the only expense you'll have. You've got to think about the way you're going to fill the rifle as well. So an advantage of a budget PCP rifle is that you will need to either have a pump to fill the rifle up with air, or a diver's tank like I've got for mine. A pump will probably cost you in the region of £80 to £100. A diver's tank can vary in price in terms of what it's made of. I mean, carbon bottles can be very expensive. But a medium-sized 5-litre tank will probably cost you in the region of £200, £220. So it's another expense to add on to a budget PCP. But when you look at the expensive rifle, that's even more money you've got to spend. And then you look at things like scopes as well. So the list goes on in terms of additional things that you need for your rifle. Your basic things, though, are a way to pre-charge your rifle, and a scope to ensure that you're hitting your target as a minimum. And obviously there are lots of other things that you need, like pellets and oil, and maintenance oil, and different types of pellets which you need to try to make sure it suits the barrel type, etc. So extra expense can come along. So don't think that you've got always a bargain with a £400 rifle. There's going to be probably double that to get into a position where you can shoot. And you think comparing that to an expensive PCP, you're adding even more money on top of that. So a £1,500 rifle can quickly become a well over £2,000 rifle, 2,300 for example. So I think that's all I want to say on this subject about budget PCPs versus expensive PCPs. If you look at the rifles that I've got here side by side, the expensive PCP definitely offers better engineering, more features and refinement, and better build quality, and it is without no doubt more accurate, without any doubt at all. But the budget rifle proves something also very important. You don't need to spend a fortune to enjoy air gunning or control pests effectively. So you can still become and still join in the sport, the niche that you want to get involved in with a budget PCP. It may not be as accurate, but you can still join in. You don't have to spend £2,000 on your first rifle. The final point I want to make is the truth is the best rifle is always the one that suits your shooting style, your budget and your needs. Think about what you're going to do with this rifle. Are you going to be ratting, walking around a farm on a permission, hunting, or are you going to be bench rest shooting, or are you going to be target shooting or doing HFT? So there are lots of niches that specific rifles are made for. You may want a generalised rifle which is good at lots of things but master of none. So there's a lot of questions you've got to ask yourself, and I think if you write those things down, you will come up with and take them to a good RFD. They will be able to advise you in terms of the right rifle for you. Never rush into buying a rifle. If you can, try some down at your local range. I'm sure there's lots of people that are willing to offer you the opportunity to shoot their rifle. And don't be afraid or ashamed of buying a cheaper rifle. Like I said earlier, I looked at a rifle the other day which was £400, and I've heard very good things about it. So yes, I've got some very expensive rifles, but doesn't put me off looking at the budget end of things as well. So what would I like you to think about now is, would you spend the extra money on a premium PCP or stick with a budget rifle that just gets the job done? What would you do in those circumstances? Have a think about it. I would really appreciate your comments on this topic. You can, sorry about the noise levels, it's crazy in here. It feels like I've just sat in the middle of a hurricane. But please use the comment section to reply to that question. Would you spend the extra money on a premium PCP or stick with a budget rifle that gets the job done? And I would like you to answer that question by naming the budget PCP that you would buy and also the expensive PCP you would buy, and for what reason. So have a think. I hope this has been useful, especially to newcomers to the sport. And by all means, if you've got any questions, get in touch with myself. My name's Kevin, I'm the host of Trigger Vibes. Please subscribe to the channel. Please like, comment, share with your friends, and look out for some exciting videos which are coming in the near future. I'm going to be sitting in this studio room now for the next 10 minutes until the storm passes. So it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you tonight, and I hope that's been of some use to you. Thanks again, speak to you soon.